The woman who once came between you and your person has an unexpected update online right now. My beloved child, at first glance, it does not look like the kind of thing that should matter. It is not a dramatic confession. It is not a photograph of two people embracing. It is not an announcement meant to shock anyone. It is something much smaller. An old post. A familiar date. A photograph that has been sitting quietly online for years. And beneath it, a new interaction from a woman whose name carries a history your person once tried very hard not to revisit. That is what makes this strange. Because the post itself is old. The photograph is old. The misunderstanding surrounding it is old. But her update is new. And what she has quietly brought back into view may force your person to confront something they have avoided for far too long. The first thing your person noticed was the notification. They almost ignored it. They had been scrolling without thinking, half distracted, when a name appeared on the screen. Her name. The woman who had once been somewhere in the middle of everything. Your person stopped. Not because they wanted to reopen the past. Not because they had been waiting for her. But because she had interacted with a post your person had nearly forgotten was still visible. It was a picture from a time when things between you and your person had not yet completely fallen apart. Nothing obviously romantic was shown in it. That was what made the photograph dangerous. To anyone else, it was ordinary. But your person remembered exactly what happened that day. They remembered where they were. They remembered what you had said. They remembered checking their phone afterward and almost sending you a message. And they remembered deciding not to. For years, that photograph had remained untouched. Your person had deleted other pictures. Changed captions. Archived memories. Removed reminders they told themselves were no longer important. But not this one. And now the woman who once stood between you had returned to it. She did not simply press a like. She left 4 words beneath the photograph. 4 words that made your person read them twice. Then 3 times. I should have told you. Your person stared at the screen. Told me what? That question became impossible to ignore. They clicked her profile. And this was where the first unexpected update appeared. She had posted something of her own. It was not about your person by name. It was not about you by name. But anyone who knew what happened back then might have recognized what she was talking about. She wrote about regret. About the damage that can happen when people repeat information without understanding the whole story. About trying to protect someone and discovering years later that protection can become interference when you make decisions for people instead of allowing them to speak for themselves. Your person felt something tighten inside them. Because those words sounded too familiar. There had always been one piece of the past that never made sense. One conversation. One warning. One version of something you supposedly said. Years ago, this woman had told your person that you wanted distance. Not temporary space. Not time to think. Distance. Your person had asked her only once. Did they actually say that? And the woman had answered carefully. They made it pretty clear. Pretty clear. Not yes. Not exactly. Pretty clear. At the time, your person had been too hurt to notice the difference. They had already been uncertain about where they stood with you. They had already felt vulnerable. They had already convinced themselves that asking you directly might make them look desperate. So instead of calling you, they trusted the version they were given. They withdrew. And when you did not chase after them in the way they secretly hoped you might, your person took your silence as confirmation. You wanted me gone. That became the story they lived with. But now, years later, the woman who helped create that belief had written, "I should have told you." Your person opened a private message. They typed, "What are you talking about?" They stared at it. Deleted it. Typed again. "Why did you comment that?" Deleted that too. Finally, they wrote only, "Can we talk?" The reply did not come immediately. And somehow, the delay made everything worse. Your person placed the phone down. Picked it back up. Opened the old photograph again. And that was when they noticed another detail. The timestamp. The photograph had been posted 3 days before everything between you changed. 3 days. Your person started rebuilding the timeline in their head. The photograph. The conversation with the woman. Your sudden quietness. Their decision not to reach out. Then something else returned to them. An old message. Not a message from you. A message from a mutual friend. At the time, it had seemed insignificant. Your person searched their old conversations and found it buried beneath years of ordinary exchanges. The friend had written, "Did you two ever clear that up?" Your person had answered, "There's nothing to clear up." They made their choice. The friend had replied, "Are you sure?" Your person never responded. Now those two words looked completely different. "Are you sure?" For the first time, your person began wondering whether they had spent all these years being certain about something they had never actually confirmed. Then the woman finally answered, "Yes. We need to." That conversation did not happen through one dramatic confession. It happened slowly. Uneasily. The woman started with an apology. And your person interrupted. "Apologize for what?" There was a long pause. Then she admitted something your person had never known. Back then, you had not told her that you wanted your person gone. You had been hurt. Confused. You had told her you were tired of trying to guess what your person felt. You had said something like, "If they want distance, I'm not going to force them to stay." But that sentence had been repeated differently. By the time it reached your person, the uncertainty was gone. The condition was gone. If they want distance. Became. They want distance. One small change. A few missing words. And suddenly the meaning was completely different. Your person went silent. The woman tried to explain. She said she believed your person was hurting you. She saw your confusion. She thought she was helping. She had watched your person hesitate, pull back, fail to communicate, and she made an assumption. She decided that maybe both of you needed separation. So she gave each side a cleaner version of the story than either of you had actually said. She made uncertainty sound final. Your person asked, "Why didn't you tell me this earlier?" Again, hesitation. That hesitation mattered. Because there was more. The woman finally said. Because by the time I realized what I'd done, you had already stopped talking. Your person felt anger rise. But beneath the anger was something harder to accept. Responsibility. Because yes, the woman had interfered. Yes, she had repeated your words carelessly. Yes, she should have been clearer. But your person also understood something painful. They could have asked you. One message. One phone call. One honest question. Is this really what you want? They never sent it. They had chosen pride, fear, and assumption because all three felt safer than hearing the truth directly. I should have asked them, your person said. The woman did not argue. Yes, she answered quietly. You should have. That sentence stayed with them. But this is where everything changed again. Your person asked one question they had avoided for years. Did they ever try to reach me? The woman stopped speaking. Your person heard nothing on the other end. Did they? Another pause. Then. Yes. Your person sat completely still. What do you mean, yes? The woman explained that there had been a message. Not months later. Not years later. Only days after everything fell apart. You had apparently sent something through a mutual connection because by then you were unsure whether contacting your person directly would make things worse. The message was simple. You were not asking for a relationship. You were not begging. You were asking whether the two of you could talk because you did not understand what had happened. Your person had never seen it. And suddenly the entire story shifted. They had spent years believing you accepted the ending without question. Perhaps you had spent some of that same time believing your person ignored an attempt to clear things up. Two people. Two versions of the same silence. And somewhere between them, one message that never reached its destination. Your person asked who had received it. The woman gave the name of a mutual friend. The same mutual friend who had later asked. Did you two ever clear that up? Now your person understood why. They contacted that friend. At first, the response was defensive. I thought you knew. Knew what? That they tried to talk. Your person felt their chest tighten. No. I didn't. Then another uncomfortable truth appeared. The mutual friend had assumed the woman had told your person. The woman had assumed the mutual friend would handle it. You assumed someone had passed the message along. Everyone thought somebody else had said something. Nobody checked. And your person, already hurt, interpreted the silence as an answer. There was no grand conspiracy. That almost made it worse. It was ordinary human failure. Bad timing. Assumptions. Fear. People believing they were helping. Two people waiting for clarity while everyone around them assumed the story was already over. Your person went back to the old photograph. For the first time in years, they looked beyond the picture itself. They remembered something saved from that exact week. A screenshot. They had never deleted it. They found it buried in an old folder. It was part of a conversation between you and them. Your message said, I'd rather hear something difficult from you than keep guessing. Your person stared at that sentence. You had told them exactly what you needed. Honesty. And when the difficult moment came, they gave you silence. That realization hurt more than anything the woman had admitted. Because blaming someone else would have been easier. Your person could have said, "She ruined everything. She got between us. She lied." But the truth was more complicated. She affected the situation. She misunderstood. She interfered. But your person still made a choice. They chose not to ask. They chose not to verify. They chose to disappear behind their own fear. Later that night, they opened your old conversation. They had not typed anything there for a very long time. Your name looked almost unfamiliar and completely familiar at the same time. They began writing. "I found out something today. Delete. I don't know whether you want to hear from me. Delete. I think we were both told different versions of what happened. Delete." They leaned back. Started again. "Is there still room for an honest conversation between us?" Their finger hovered over the screen. But they did not send it. Not yet. Because now another fear had appeared. It was no longer simply the fear that you might reject them. It was the fear that you might say, "I waited for that conversation once. I don't anymore." And your person knew that possibility had to be respected. If you had healed, they had no right to arrive years later demanding access to your heart simply because they finally understood their mistake. So the message changed. They added, "I'm not asking you to reopen anything you've already made peace with. I only recently learned that I may have misunderstood what happened between us, and I owe you an apology for never asking you directly." That sounded closer to the truth. But there was still another detail. The unexpected update from the woman had not ended with her apology. She revealed that she had recently seen your name again. Not because she was watching you. Not because anyone had been secretly investigating your life. Something much more ordinary happened. A mutual connection had interacted with one of those old memories. That brought the photograph back onto her screen. She saw it. Remembered everything. And realized the mistake had never truly been addressed. That was why she commented now. "I should have told you." The past had resurfaced through an algorithm, a memory, a name, and a timestamp. Nothing supernatural needed to happen. Sometimes old truths simply become visible again because someone finally looks at them differently. But the update had done something none of them expected. It brought the story into the present. Your person started asking questions they should have asked years earlier. And the answers were uncomfortable. Did you try to reach them? Possibly, yes. Did they know? Apparently not. Were your words repeated accurately? Not entirely. Was the woman solely responsible? No. Did your person have opportunities to ask you directly? Yes. Did they use them? No. And perhaps the hardest question of all. If they had known then what they know now, would everything have been different? There is no honest way to know. That is the part your person is beginning to understand. They cannot rewrite history. They cannot turn one revelation into proof that a relationship would have worked perfectly. They cannot assume you are still emotionally standing where they left you. But they can finally stop pretending the old story was complete. It was not. Your person had believed. You wanted me gone. But now they have been forced to consider another possibility. Maybe you were waiting for them to explain. Maybe you were confused by the exact same silence they were interpreting as rejection. Maybe neither of you had the complete truth. That does not guarantee reunion. But it changes the meaning of the past. And that is why the woman's update matters. Because the real surprise is not that she returned to interfere again. It is the opposite. This time, she is trying to correct something. She has admitted. I thought I was protecting them. And your person answered. You should have let us talk. Then, after a long silence, your person added. But I should have talked too. That may be the most important sentence in this entire story. Because your person is no longer using someone else's mistake to excuse their own. They are beginning to understand that love without communication becomes a room full of assumptions. And every person standing outside that room can interpret the silence differently. Now your person has one decision to make. Leave the past where it is. Or send one honest message without demanding any particular outcome. They have already rewritten it several times. The latest version begins differently. It does not begin with, I miss you. It does not begin with, we belong together. And it does not begin with a promise they cannot guarantee. It begins with accountability. I learned something about what happened between us, and I realized I made decisions based on things I never asked you to confirm. Then comes the sentence they have struggled most to write. I made silence feel safer than honesty, and you may have paid the price for that too. Your person reads those words again. And again. Then they add. If you never want to revisit this, I'll respect that. But if there is still room for one honest conversation, there are things I should have told you a long time ago. That is where they stop. For now. Because the biggest secret online was never that photograph. It was not the new comment. It was not even the woman's confession. The biggest secret was hidden inside the timeline. A relationship may have changed because two people reacted to different versions of the same moment. One thought, they want me gone. The other may have thought, they chose not to explain. And silence did what silence often does. It filled every unanswered question with fear. Now someone who once contributed to that silence has finally spoken. Not perfectly. Not soon enough. But enough to make your person look again. Enough to make them question the story they had repeated to themselves for years. Enough to make them understand that an apology cannot change the past, but it can stop a misunderstanding from becoming the only version of the truth that survives. Perhaps that is the real meaning of this unexpected update. Not that destiny guarantees anything. Not that someone will appear at your door. Not that an old connection must become new again. But sometimes timing has a strange way of bringing unfinished truths back into view. And when that happens, the most important question is not whether two people can return to who they once were. They cannot. The question is whether they are finally brave enough to speak as the people they have become. Your person now knows what they should have done then. Ask. Listen. Clarify. Take responsibility. And if they choose to speak now, they know the conversation cannot begin with blame. It has to begin with the truth. I should have asked you directly. I believed something without giving you a chance to explain. I thought stepping away would prevent more pain. I didn't realize you may have been waiting for clarity too. And somewhere on their screen, beneath an old photograph from a chapter they once believed was completely finished, 4 words remain visible. I should have told you. But your person understands now that there is another sentence that matters even more. One they can no longer expect anyone else to say for them. I should have told you myself. And whether that message is ever sent or not, something inside your person has already changed. They can no longer hide behind the version of the past that made silence easy. The woman who once came between you has given them an unexpected update. But the update was never really about her. It was about what your person finally discovered after looking again. Perhaps the door did not close because one person stopped caring. Perhaps it closed because too many things went unsaid. And now, for the first time, your person understands that if any door is ever opened again, it cannot be opened by assumptions, intermediaries, old photographs, or online clues. It can only be opened by 2 people willing to tell each other the truth.